Welcome to 100 Yards of Football. I'm your host, Vincent Turner, and today I got the greatest undrafted football players of all time. So if you like the video today, please come and share it here on 100 Yards of Football. There's a thing that when you talk about players that make it that's undrafted, there's something that never goes away. It's called against all odds. And when you look at the greatest undrafted players of all time, all these guys, remember this, they weren't on nobody's radar. And they had to go different areas and different ways to get into the National Football League. Think about this, not being drafted and trying to make an NFL squad, you really have to do something to be very impressive. So these young men who I consider the greatest undrafted players of all time, they had some serious obstacles to making it to this league. So let me give you my list of all-time greatest undrafted players. I'm going to start with Willie Brown, cornerback out of Grambling University, Yazoo City, Mississippi, Pro Football Hall of Famer. The thing I remember about Willie Brown is that 75-yard interception against the Oakland Raiders in the Super Bowl. First team All-Pro, 1971, 1973. Intercepted 54 passes in 16 seasons and played college football for the great Eddie Robinson. And some of his teammates were Buck Buchanan, Ernie Ladd, Clifton McNeil, and Jerry Robinson. All of them made it to the National Football League. The second gentleman on my list, Antonio Gates, Detroit, Michigan, Bad Boys, Warriors come out to play. This guy didn't even play college football. The thing about Antonio Gates' story that I didn't really realize is that he came out of Central High School in Detroit, Michigan. He went to Michigan State on a football and basketball scholarship. But Nick Saban said he didn't want him to play basketball. So he transferred, went to JUCO 1 year, then came back and played basketball under Stan Heath at Kent State. Averaged 16 points a game. But this is what I love about Antonio Gates. Let's go back to the 2002 NCAA tournament. He got Kent State to the Elite Eight. And they beat some good teams along the way. As Mr. Gates averaged 16 points that year. They beat Oklahoma State. They had Victor Williams and Maurice Baker. They beat Oklahoma. They beat Alabama. They had Mo Williams. They beat Pittsburgh. They had Julius Page and Brandon Knight. And then they lost to Indiana. They had Jerry Jeffries, Mike Davis was the head coach, A.J. Moyer, and Jeff Newton. But this is the thing about it. He did all that in basketball at 6'4", 240 pounds. But he translated that over to the National Football League with the San Diego Chargers. First team All-Pro from 2004 to 2006. 8-time Pro Bowler. 955 receptions, 11,841 yards, and 116 touchdowns. Antonio Gates was a bad boy. The third gentleman on my list, Austin, Texas. The Eyes of Texas, Anderson High School, Dick Night Train Lane. Unbelievable journey. Got his journey at Scott Bluff Junior College in 1947. Then went into the military in 1948, played football there, played in the Air Force, and played one season, had 18 touchdown receptions at 6'1", 194 pounds. Then one day he was working, check this story out. He had a job at the LA airport working, I believe, as a mechanic. But one day he showed up at the LA Rams headquarters in 1952 and asked for a tryout. So what they did, they put him on the field. Remember Elroy, Hearst, and Tom Fears? Well, what got everybody looking at Mr. Dick Night Train Lane, they had a scrimmage. And he was playing receiver, so they moved him over to defensive back. And he laid a hit on Elroy Hearst that rocked the world. It was like an earthquake. And the LA Rams brass said, hey, we better sign this young man. And you know what happened? Dick Night Train Lane played with the LA Rams, the Chicago Cardinals, the Detroit Lions, 157 games, 68 interceptions, return yardage, 1,200 yards, return yardage, and 6 touchdowns. He became one of the most fearless, greatest defensive backs back in the 50s and 60s. Pro Football Hall of Famer, Dick Night Train Lane. The next gentleman on my list, Texarkana, Arkansas, Missouri Southern, hometown of Willie Davis, Grambling, Green Bay, Mike Cherry, Murray State, Dennis Woodbury, Super Bowl champion, Washington Redskins. My man, Mr. Rod Smith, the greatest receiver in Denver Broncos history. 3-time Pro Bowler, 849 receptions, 11,389 yards. Undrafted in 1984, 68 touchdowns, more than any undrafted free agent player in the history of the National Football League. And what I remember Rod Smith about was that 80-yard touchdown against the Atlanta Falcons, nicknamed the Dirty Birds, in the Super Bowl down there in Miami. Missouri Southern, Texarkana, Arkansas, Rod Smith. The next gentleman to make the list, he's another Texan, went to Bishop, a very quality, great man, was an assistant coach here with the Atlanta Falcons, Hall of Fame in 2008. Intercepted 58 passes in 13 seasons, has selected to 5 Pro Bowls, played 13 seasons with the Kansas City Chiefs from 1966 to 1978. My man, Mr. Emmett Thomas. And he was a Super Bowl player and a Super Bowl coach champion. And then he played on that Kansas City Chiefs team, 1969 Super Bowl 4. In my heart, maybe my favorite all-time team. Why? Because Emmett Thomas went to Bishop College, which is an HBC school. And think of all them players they had on that roster that was from HBCUs. Buck Buchanan, Grambling University. Robert Holmes, Southern. Cesar Belser, Arkansas Pine Bluff. Jim Kearney, Prairie View. Willie Lanier, Morgan State. Willie Mitchell, Tennessee State. Frank Pitt, Southern. Gloucester Richardson, Jackson State. Otis Taylor, Prairie View. Nolan Smith, Tennessee State. And Goldie Sellers, Grambling. Emmett Thomas made my list. The next guy that made my list. When I know about this young man, real story. I was in my senior year at Southside High School, 17-year-old, in my house, 763 Dunn Avenue, watching the Rose Bowl with my father, Chester Turner. Turned on the Rose Bowl because it was a game you had to see. And it was the Washington Huskies playing the Michigan Wolverines, the very highly rated Michigan Wolverines. But there was a young man that I said, Daddy, even though he was only 12 or 23 for 188 yards that game, but I said, that guy right there, one day, is going to be special. He might be one of the first black quarterbacks to make his imprint on the National Football League. And you know what? That guy was Warren Moon. And all I can think about, his connection with a guy that had a receiver named Spider Gaines, who had 4 receptions, 122 yards. But all I kept thinking about was that 28-yard reception. And the ball came out Warren Moon's hands like it was a missile. But you know what? The National Football League didn't want him. So he had to go up to Epperton and play for the Epperton Eskimos. And he won 5 Grey Cups in 6 years. That's all right, though. When he got to the NFL, 49,325 yards passing, 291 yards, 291 touchdowns, and 17 seasons. Pro Football Hall of Fame in 2006. And you know, in that 7-8 draft, you know the quarterbacks that they had highly rated? Don't get me wrong, Doug Williams, he won a Super Bowl with the Washington Redskins, had a decent career with the Tampa Bay Bucks. But think about the other guys that was in that draft. Matt Cavanaugh with Pittsburgh. Mark Miller with Bowling Green. Giffen Nelson with BYU. But you know what? They couldn't carry Warren Moon's jockstrap, and that's why he made the Hall of Fame. See, that's adversity, baby. The man from Cali, Warren Moon. I love you, baby. And the final gentleman to make my list. They're going to make a movie that's coming out December the 24th called The American Underdog. He came out of Northern Iowa. You talking about a journey. This guy took a job at a grocery store after he got cut several times for $5.50 an hour. Think about that and let that sink in your head. He swallowed his pride. Played college football, had played a little arena football, got cut several times. He took a job at the grocery store, making $5.50 an hour. God was in his plans, and he became a full-blown Christian when he got with the LA Rams. And think about this. The only way he got on the field is that Trent Green got hurt. Well, all I know, he was a Super Bowl champion, 2-time National Football League MVP, 4-time Pro Bowler, Hall of Famer, 32,000 yards, 334 yards passing, 208 touchdowns, Hall of Famer in 2017. But what I remember this gentleman, they had the greatest offense that I ever seen in the National Football League. The greatest show on turf in St. Louis, Missouri. Can I say Marshall Faulk that year, 1,381 yards rushing. Torrey Holt, rookie, 788 yards receiving. Isaac Bruce, 901, played at Memphis. That's right, people. He had 1,165 yards receiving. Azar Akeem, San Diego State, 677 yards. And my man, Kurt Warner, 4,300 yards that year, 41 touchdowns, 13 INTs. By the way, HY Grocery was the store he worked at. These are my greatest undrafted free agent players of all time. And just look what they did when they got to the next level. Kurt Warner, God was in your plan, man. That's why I give you all the respect. Emmett Thomas, that's why I give you all the respect, man. You played on one of the greatest Super Bowl teams ever, the 1969 Super Bowl. 13 players from the HBCUs. That's why I give you respect. Rod Smith out of Missouri Southern. People don't even know what a school at. Texarkana, Arkansas. But I know you was great because you was from the same hometown of Willie Davis. And we know how special he was with the Green Bay Packers and Grambling University. Oh, my God. Then Dick Night Train Lane. What more can I say? In the most grueling times on this face of the earth, man, in the 50s, you walked into the LA Rams headquarters and asked for a tryout, and you performed at a high level. And then Antonio Gates. Brother, you didn't even play football in college. But man, what you got with the San Diego Chargers, you was like a shining star, Earth, Wind, and Fire, Maurice White, baby. And then finally, Willie Brown, Yazoo City, Mississippi. I always tell you people here on 100 yards of football, there's some in the water in Mississippi. Morgan Freeman, James Earl Jones, B.B. King, Archie Manning, Walter Payton, Jerry Rice, Steve McNair, Brett Favre, and my mother and father, Inez and Chester Turner. It's some in the water in Mississippi, and that's why I'm not surprised at Willie Brown. All I can say is it's been an honor, and it's been really proud to honor these young men because their journey to the National Football League was not easy. And think about how many times these people were counted out. How many times, man, you're not going to make it. But they stayed the course, and they did what they had to do. And they became some of the best players at their positions in the National Football League. So my final words today are here on 100 Yards of Football. The great band from England, Tears for Fears. And they had a song. Shout, shout, let it all out. We are the people that you know about. Willie Brown, Antonio Gates, Rod Smith, Emmett Thomas, Dick Night Train Lane, Warren Moon, and Kurt Warner. If you like the video today, please come in and share it. I'm your host, Vincent Turner. And special thanks today for a young man that's worked very hard to put all the videos together here at a professional high level, my man, Mr. Logan Landers. Thank you today, sir. Y'all enjoy the rest of the week. I'm Vincent Turner here at 100 Yards of Football.